We've got some really exciting plans coming up here at the beginning of June that Kevin and I were just talking about that we are excited to share with you. And that part of that includes wrapping up a majority of the story of Samuel, including this transition period between the judges and the kings. So strap in as we endeavor to do that today. Before we do that, though, we'll say hello to Kevin and catch
Hey,
up and all that jazz. So
yeah,
what's up, Kev?
not much. How you doing, Adam?
I am good. Yeah, it's we're definitely in the throes of pre-summer vacation. Don't have to wake up early and get lunches made and all that kind of stuff. But
There you go.
it
Yeah,
also means that you know if I allow myself to, I can start later in the day,
yeah.
which may mean I don't get as much done. But
Yeah. We
so
are
far
on
so good.
the last week of school here. Melissa will be done. She has a half day Thursday teaching. Kelson has been subbing at the school, so he has a half day up till then as well. And then they'll all be around again, right? Instead of here
Yep.
with the house all myself. And yeah, I get going usually like by 6 o'clock my time because that's 9 on the East Coast, and so I have to decide in a couple of weeks when we're out on the East Coast what I'm going to do, right? Do I try and get up and go in early still, or do I be like, well, I don't have to start till 9. That's what I usually do, and
Yeah.
take it easy.
Well, I guess it really just depends on who's depending on you, right, throughout the day, more
Yeah,
more
I
more
mean,
so
I'd
than
be
not.
happy to get up at 6 and keep working, but I think I have meetings after 2:30, which is usually 5:30 there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to pull that one off. I think I'll probably have to make some adjustment to 8 to
Yeah,
4 or
well, or just
something.
get up at 6 and do other projects, you
Yeah,
know?
do stuff in the morning and then go
Yep,
to work and then go back
yep,
to
yep, yep.
projects. Yep.
All right. All right, so we, covered, through chapter 7 of First Samuel last week, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think we
Yeah.
covered a pretty big chunk, and we talked about this conflict between, the Philistines and the Israelites and all those kinds of things, and we got into the kind of the par for the course business of Samuel the priest at the end of
Yeah.
chapter 7, where it said that he judged Israel all the days of his life, and he went on a circuit year by year to Bethel, Gilgal, and Mizpah, and he judged Israel in all these places. Then he would return to Ramah, for his home was there, and there also he judged Israel, and he built there an altar to the Lord. Because remember, what city got destroyed, Kevin?
Shiloh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shiloh was leveled there in the taking of the ark, which was the place that God had previously sort of set up, before Jerusalem anyway, right? That was kind of the cultural religious center.
Yep. And the sacking of Shiloh was not recorded for us in First Samuel. Kevin was
That's right.
smart enough to know that we found that elsewhere, which was pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in here. And for the first time, we kind of see some wisdom by the people of Israel in their request. It's kind of a double-sided wisdom because they ask it with the right intent, I think, but they're really asking for the wrong thing. Let's go ahead and dive into chapter 8 there, Kev. Why don't you pick us up?
Yeah, so if we start at the beginning of chapter 8, it says, when Samuel became old, he made his sons judge over Israel, and the name of his firstborn son was Joel, and the name of the second Abijah, and they were judges in Beersheba. Yet his sons did not walk in his ways, but they turned aside after gain. They took bribes and perverted justice. And so all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, behold, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, obey the voice of the people in all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them, according to all the deeds that they have done from the day I brought them up from Egypt, even to this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. So they are also doing to you. Now then, obey their voice, only you shall solemnly warn them and show them the way of the king who will reign over them.
All right. So, a lot of thoughts here regarding fatherhood the expectations of your children. It's clear to me that this request comes from a sense of, hey, we really like where we're at in our relationship with God, and you've appointed these sons of yours to be judge over us, but they're not like you, Samuel. And so we think it'd be better for us to have something different. All the other nations have a king, so maybe that's the answer.
Yeah, right. I mean, like you say, it comes from this place of your sons are bad, right? Like, you love what you were doing. You had this whole restoration movement going on, very similar to the judge, right? Period, where things are good all the days of his judging. But they recognize they're taking bribes, they're perverting justice. And so they're like, look, we don't want these judges. They're terrible. It's really interesting because this is like a very fast succession, right? Because you had Eli and then his sons were bad, and then Samuel and then his sons were. So they're like, this son thing's just not working out, right? And so they decide, yeah, let's maybe if we pivoted to a king, which is interesting a little bit to me because I assume they think that the king's son will be the next king. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Now you're just enshrining the dynasty like that.
Yeah.
You haven't really thought this through very well, but that's right. They go, look, we want someone to be a judge. And, when it looks at it, at least in their statement right here, give us a king to judge us, right? Like all the other nations. Now later they'll say, he'll go out to war and do this kind of thing and stuff for us as well. But, it's like they're just tired of the judge thing and we want to do a king thing instead. And he can be our judge, right? He can be the one who does this stuff. But it is interesting that they go to Samuel and say, appoint us a king, right? Because, in one sense, like he just appointed his sons as judges. You didn't like those picks. So I don't know why they think they're going to get a better pick if he picks a king for them instead. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but you also see the character of Samuel. It doesn't appear that he was displeased because they were not happy with his choice.
Right.
They were displeased that he felt they were like slapping God in the face. Like they were, right? It was a slight to the Lord.
Yeah, at least that's how God presents it back to him. So I don't know if Samuel thinks that way, but it's just as he's displeased by it, right? And it may be that, yeah, he's displeased that they're asking for a king at all. And it may be that, and we're speculating here, but
yeah, a little bit.
There had been a call in the law, right, that one day there was going to be a king, right? That this is going to happen. You're going to want a king, and here's going to be the rules about kings, right? You're not going to pick someone from a different nation to be a king over you. He's going to have to write out a copy of the law. It will always be before him. All these kinds of things, right? So, I mean, Samuel, in a sense, could say, God saw this coming, right? But I have a feeling, and this is again just my personal thought on it, I have a feeling that he thinks it's sort of sad that it happened in his day, right? Like, and somehow I have failed. The people, the end of the way it's been in Israel is coming to an end, and it was on my watch, or my sons are the reason for it, right? Like,
right.
They're the ones who have ended the days of the judges, effectively, kind of a thing. But yeah, certainly God's response to him is they've not rejected you, they've rejected me, which again makes me think a little bit that was maybe what Samuel was feeling, was some level of rejection, because God's consolation to him, if you will, is no, it's not you they're rejecting, right? They're doing what they've always done.
Let me ask you another question. Is it just me, or is it a natural reaction to kind of think negatively about the quality of parenting a person did based on the outcome of their children's spiritual relationship with God?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because by all accounts here, Samuel is an excellent man, right? Everything we've seen about him the entire time only demonstrates excellent character, right? This is the first instance we've sort of seen of what's going on here, right? Now, it's also, we have this comparison we can make between Samuel and Eli, because remember, when God speaks to Eli, he calls Eli on it, right? You have not restrained them, right? You didn't stop them from doing this thing. But God doesn't say that here to Samuel, right? He
Right.
doesn't say to him, this is, you are the failure here in this case. You did not restrain your sons. So, I think we have to be careful about reading into, how Samuel did or didn't do.
Of
But
course. Yep.
there is, somehow he doesn't convey his ways well enough that they pick them up, I guess, right? Because it says they do not walk in the ways of Samuel. They don't walk in his ways, right?
Yep.
So he was devout, he was honest, but for some reason they go their own. And so, yeah, I certainly think that it's a challenge to us as fathers, right, to make sure that we're doing what we can to instill in our children the way they ought to walk, right? I mean, the law was very clear on that. This is what you do. This is what you do. So I teach. I think part of the challenge that we're seeing showing up is these people that are in positions of privilege, right? You grew up where your dad was the big shot in Israel, and you're sort of perhaps seeing, I should benefit off this more than dad does. Could take a little more than he does here if he will do these kinds of things. I don't know, right? But in both cases, we've seen, again, the children of privilege. And we'll see that down the road with Solomon, right? Now, certainly Solomon, I would not suggest is any kind of a measuring stick for
Right.
raising up his children there. He's got hundreds of wives and all kind, right? But,
Yeah.
his son goes, yeah, dad thinks he was so smart. I'll show who's smart. And you know what I mean? But he's coming from a place of, you grew up in the palace, man, right? Like, you should listen to the counselors and do these things.
Yeah.
So,
It's crazy. I mean, we have a responsibility to raise our children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. A proverb says that if you raise a child,
right, train them the way to go, won't depart from
train
it.
them,
Yeah.
train them up in the right way, and when they get older, they won't depart from it. That's generally true. And yet, every individual
Yeah.
has to choose, right?
Yeah.
And Jesus said, choosing the narrow path is not easy. And we've seen throughout the as we've studied through Judges and everything that God has always preserved a remnant, or you would even on the flip side, you'd say that a remnant, a small percentage of people are genuinely serving the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jesus, he doubled down on that. He said, the narrow way, few will find it. Right?
Yeah.
Broad is the way to destruction. I mean, everybody, it's really easy to find that one. That's an easy path to go on. And when we talk about the selflessness that we're called to be, that's hard. It's not easy. It's a lot easier to be selfish and to stuff for me. I want what's best for me, And it's clear that Samuel's sons kind of fell into that trap based on the comments there, that they were taking bribes and they were looking out, for themselves. They were prospering personally. And that attitude is what soiled their reputation with the people, saying, these guys aren't gonna judge us rightfully. They're not
Yeah.
showing that,
Yeah. And I think, obviously the people that are around who are of normal, age wouldn't remember necessarily Eli's sons, but there are those who did, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, here we go again, right? This is the same thing, and it turned bad last time. We were oppressed by the Philistines because of it, right? Because we all forsook the assembling and the worship and the sacrifices because of their perversion of what they had done. And so they're like, we're not doing this again, right? But again,
Yeah.
their ask sort of goes down the wrong path here. Which, again, is interesting, right? Because the law had provided for this king thing. So I don't know if that's where they get it from or what, right? But God is very clear on they're doing the same thing they've always done kind of statement there, right? It's not just they've rejected me from being king over them. It's according to the deeds that they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt, even till today. They forsake and they serve others, right? And they're doing it now. This is just their nature, right? They're fickle. And so they're tossing you aside and they're tossing me aside in this way. But he says, yep, give it to him. God knew this was going to happen. He's got it set up. And to be honest, right, God has got a plan that he's working as well, right?
Yep.
Now, could he have accomplished it by bringing the Messiah not as a king, I suppose, right? But he knows where this is going. And this is sort of a step in the road, effectively. And so he does say, though, we'll give it to them, but I want them to know this is what they're going to get.
Hmm.
And it's almost as though when we read it here in a minute that God's saying, tell them what it's going to be like and make sure this is what they want.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're going to say, yeah, we'll give us to it anyway. So,
Yep. So, just one of the other highlights regarding the character of Samuel, when you think about the characterizations or what the hallmarks of a righteous person throughout scriptures are seeking the Lord, almost always.
yeah.
David, arguably notorious sinner, right?
Yeah.
Who always sought the Lord, regardless. And so when God says he's a man after my own heart, I've taken that to mean two things. One, David tried to comply with the will of God.
Yeah.
He crafted his heart and complied with God's will. And the double entendre meaning for that is that he was after God's heart. He was pursuing the heart of God,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so when you have both of those in place, are you going to make mistakes? Sure. Are you going to have moments of weakness? Sure. But you can, because of your nature being that which pursues God and pursues righteousness, you'll find it and God will approve of you. You still may be punished for your sins and your actions, but God will deem you as righteous. And I think that this little note here in verse 6, end of verse 6 there, said Samuel was displeased when they said, give us a king to judge us. Then I have this circled, and Samuel prayed to the Lord.
Yeah.
That is the missing piece so many times in all of the judges that we see. So many times they just failed to seek the Lord.
Yeah.
Prior to Judges, the book of Joshua, how many mistakes were made because they just forgot to ask God first?
Yeah, well, we just saw it, last week, right? When
Yeah.
they decide, why have we been defeated? Let's go get the ark, right? No, they've asked the right question, but then their answer is, so they prayed to the Lord. No, that's what got left out, right? They just
Yeah.
decided, bring the box, and that'll do it for us, right?
Exactly.
And that's the contrast we also saw last week, right? When in chapter 7, he gets them together after they get the ark back and all these things and this stuff. He says, if you're returning to the Lord with all your heart, then return to the Lord with all your heart, right? Get rid of this stuff, destroy these things, right? He brings them together, he draws them out, he makes them fast and pray, right? And
Yep.
says, this is what we're going to do. So
I also thought, as God was describing, really consoling Samuel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, don't worry about this. They're rejecting me. They've rejected me every step of the way since I brought them out of Egypt. Right. But he also said, so they are also doing to you, Samuel. So it's expected. Sometimes I also think about some of the prophets that were rejected so many times, except for the one prophet who didn't want to be a prophet, right?
Yeah.
And that was, of course,
Jonah.
Poor Jonah, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to go preach to those guys. They're bad.
Yeah. And then he has great success.
Right. Yeah. But like how many of of the prophets that we have recorded for us preached for so long?
Yeah.
With little to nothing to show for it.
Yeah. And this idea here is very similar to what Jesus says, right? Because he says, look, they've forsaken me, they'll forsake you also, right? And Jesus says that exactly, verbatim, right? So God is saying, look, they reject me, so of course they're going to reject you, my servant. So we'll see this play out in the day of Jesus and the disciples and the apostles there, right? It's just over and over and over again throughout the scripture. We see that pattern.
Well, I bring that up only because, sometimes I'm not chalking what we do here as some sort of a massive prophetic work or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is a work that's out there for people to find. And I hope and I pray that the things that we say here are an encouragement to people, helping people to learn the scriptures better, help to, all those things. But, we put this out there and I don't spend a lot of time tracking the
Yeah, the metrics.
metrics
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff, but like we don't get a lot of comments. We don't
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
listen, if you're listening now, I'm
Yeah.
not chastising you at all.
Yeah,
But there's a sense to it sometimes, like, is this what we do here? Is it worth it? And I have to keep myself grounded by thinking of times like this with Samuel. Like,
sure.
look, you just got to do the
I'm gonna
work,
do what I'm gonna do, right? And it's gonna fall
right?
where it falls. Yeah,
And so at the end of the day, if nothing else, I'm getting into the word. Kevin's getting into the word. We're learning more. We're discussing it more. Our personal faith is growing, and it's our prayer that we are planting seeds that are taking root, and they're getting watered elsewhere, and we just got to keep on keeping on. And so it's rare that you're going to get the accolades for this type of work that you might get elsewhere in life.
sure.
And so that's just kind of just a little sidebar, lesson that we can all learn. So if you're out there and you're doing the work, but you're not feeling the results, just know that God sees you, God loves you. Keep on doing the work. Anyway, soapbox done.
Sure.
All right, so Samuel's warning against kings. Let's pick it up there in verse 10. Kev, you want to read some more?
Sure. Yeah. It says, so Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking for a king from him. He said, these will be the ways of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them to his chariots and to be his horsemen and to run before his chariots. And he will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, and some to plow his ground and to reap his harvest and to make his implements of war and equipments of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive orchards and give them to his servants. He will take the tenth of your grain and of your vineyards and give it to his officers and his servants. He will take your male servants and your female servants and the best of your young men and your donkeys and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your flocks, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer you in that day.
So he's not talking about one specific king.
Yeah. He's just talking about the way of kings, right?
This
This
is
is
a
the way of kings.
this is a prophecy because I don't know who came up with it originally, but whoever did was pretty clever. In a lot of our Sunday school classrooms,
Yeah.
we'll have this banner at the top of the
The
history, the
timeline.
timeline of all the kings.
Yeah.
After Solomon, when Solomon's son rose up against Solomon, that turned into a divided kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. So we were a united kingdom for 3 kings, then we were a divided kingdom, Judah with Benjamin,
Yeah.
and then the 10 tribes of Israel up north, right? And so, but all of the kings, Judah kings and the Israel kings, a majority of them are either they're either happy face kings or
Yeah.
sad face
In the
kings,
little
right?
pictogram. Yeah.
Yeah,
Happy
and
means they were good kings, like Josiah, right? And
yeah,
then
Josiah was a good king,
yeah.
right? But it's just crazy that you think about this synopsis that Samuel just laid out,
Yeah.
how that played out
Yeah. And that's
throughout history, right?
That's just the nature of it, right? When
Yeah.
someone is the king, then they're going to take tribute from the people, right? That's how they fund themselves. That's how they run the operations. And as you become the one who's in charge, I'm going to take the best. I'm not taking the worst. And look, God will use that in the prophets, right? He will talk about, right? You bring me the lame and the sick and the whatever, and he's on their case, and he says, take it to your king. Would he be happy with that? Right? No, because the king wants the best. It's just the way of kings, right? So yes, he's not talking about Saul specifically, or but this is what Saul's going to do, and you're going to hate Saul, right? He's just saying this is the way of kings.
Yep.
And this is the way of kings, right? This is what they do, and it's everything, right? Your sons, your daughters, your livestock, your lands, your just on and on. Let's go. He's going to take his cut because that's what it takes to finance the king and his operation effectively, right? And you're going to not like it, he says, right? To just remember, you're going to not like it.
Well, he even says, and you will be his slaves,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to cry out in that day.
Yeah.
And they're like, we still want it.
Yeah, that's the next thing, right?
Okay.
Verse 19, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. They said, no, there will be a king over us, that we can be like all the other nations, so our king can judge us and go out before us and fight our battles, right? So yeah, it's like God is saying, tell them this and see what they say, even though he knows, right? But give them this opportunity to say, we've changed our mind. And they double down, right? No, we will have a king for us. And, I can only imagine that, at different points in the time of the kings, there are people who are going, man, this king is awful. This king is terrible. And they're crying out to God, God, get rid of this king. And he's just like, this is the king, man, right? Like, this is what you wanted. This is what you're getting. That kingship only ends when he carries off the whole people and kingdom, right? Okay, we're done with this, but you're all going off now, right? It's not just the king who's going away. And so, that works out just exactly as he says that it.
Yep, exactly. And so, when Samuel had heard all the words of the people, he repeated them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, obey their voice and make them a king. Samuel then said to the men of Israel, go every man to his city.
Yeah, so he basically sends them home, and he'll say, I'll get you a king. I'm going to do what you asked, right? But we're not doing it here right now today. But yes, we'll appoint the king. I do want to pick up on that end of 20 there too, right? Because, what they said at first is we want a king who will judge us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's who will judge us and will fight our battles for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you only have to roll back to the previous chapter, right? Where they're doing these offerings and things, and the Philistines hear about it and they come up against them, right? And who fights their battle for them when Philistines come up against them there at Mizpah, right? God does.
Did. Yeah.
Right. And so it's not like, I get that they're referencing back to the judges, right? We'd have these judges who would fight our battles. And so this judge will now be a judge and a warrior, right? But it's just ironic that you have this chapter before this where God is fighting your battles for you. And now you're like, no, we'd rather have a man do it. We'd rather have a king who will fight our battles for us.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, never before had Israel had, outside of the beginning of the conquest with Joshua as they entered the land, and they were a united people doing this conquest together, not at a very high level, right?
Yeah.
But after that, you didn't really ever have an organized military.
No,
presence.
they'd call people up as they needed, right? We
Right.
saw with the whole story, Benjamin and all that. They'd round the people up
Samuel's
together.
describing here, though, like, okay, he's going to have chariots, and you're going to have conscripted soldiers, and they're going to be all the things, And so, we want that warrior guy, So it's pretty crazy, and not because of keeping the peace, but going out and doing battle.
Yeah. And, certainly the Philistines are still a problem, right? We saw them giving back the ark, and them being defeated in the previous chapter. But there's still a problem that's going on because we'll see it with Saul, and as he kind of keeps going. And so they have that hanging over them as well, right? That we want to push back, we want to drive off these other nations, we want to do these things. And we'll see the expansion of the kingdom under David and Solomon, right? To its sort of largest points that it will ever be. And so, they're kind of saying we want the status of that. We're tired of being beat up by every person that comes around, right? And then having to cry out and wait for a judge. We just want a king who will just take care of it for us.
Yep.
As it occurs.
All right. So that kind of gets us through chapter 8.
Yeah.
Into chapter 9, and it turns into a bit more of a narrative here, and it switches gears. Because Samuel says, "All right, everybody go home."
Yeah.
Right. Then it switches gears, almost like the next chapter in a book. This is a really good chapter break.
Yes,
by the way.
so it's one
perfect chapter break, right?
Then there was a man of Benjamin. Oh, different character and everything. Great,
completely new context,
right?
Other than that chapter break a couple chapters ago, that
Yeah.
was horrible. So now it says there was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, the son of Abiel or Abiel, son of Zeror, son of Bechorath, son of Aphiah, a Benjaminite, a man of wealth. So a rich dude. And he had a son whose name was Saul, a handsome young man. There was not a man among the people of Israel more handsome than he. From his shoulders upward, he was taller than any of the people. Just quick little pause right there. One of my contentions about when David confronted Goliath and
Yeah.
met with Saul, and Saul had put his own armor on David. Like, okay, we think of David, we people think David was a very young man, very
Right.
like a just a young teen or something.
Well, because
right?
we got there once was a little boy David, right? We think he's like 12, right?
There's no way a man of Saul's stature,
Yeah.
right, that a 100-pound soaking wet
Yeah,
little
right, yeah.
seventh grader
Right.
puts on Saul's
Puts on his
armor,
armor. Yeah.
right?
Right.
Anyway, just a little quick sidebar. It's always been a thought in my head. Like he put on the armor of a really, really big dude.
He's got to
you
at
know?
least be right a strapping young
He
man,
had
right?
to have at least- I mean, he grabbed the lion by the mane and
Yeah,
was
right.
able to kill it with his
Yeah,
bare
right.
hands. We're not talking about some weak little kid,
Yeah.
you know? But that's how he's portrayed
Yeah.
very often. He was still a young man, but
Yeah.
that could have been any age under 30
Yeah.
in that culture, really,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, so that was a quick sidebar. Nothing to do with current context, but so there's this really big, handsome, strong dude, right?
Yeah, and
Head and shoulders,
he's the picture,
perfect
right?
image, picturesque
Yeah,
nobility.
yes, and he's not just big and tall and whatever and handsome. He's also wealthy, right? He's the son of Kish, a man of wealth, right? So this is the guy you picked to be king, right?
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
He's like the Fabio,
Yeah.
the perfect hair and
Yeah, he's got everything going for him. Is the picture we're supposed to get here, right? And so, he has this thing happen. I don't want to read all of the story here about what him going, but some donkeys are lost that his dad has. And so him and a servant go out to find the donkeys, right? That's why they're out wandering around from place to place to place to place. And maybe we just kind of pick it up down in a couple verses there, because his servant says in verse 6, behold, there's a man of God in this city. He's a man who's held in honor, and all that he says comes true. Let us go there. Perhaps he can tell us the way that we should go. And he's talking about Samuel, right? As they're out wandering around, they get to a town near where Samuel is presently. And he says, oh, there's a seer in this city. He can divinate for us the location of the donkeys that we're looking for. And they, back and forth about, well, we have to give them some gift or some payment, right? And
Right.
and so they come up with a thing and say, let's do that. And so verse 10, Saul says to a servant, well said, let's go. They go to the city where the man of God was. And so you get this intro to this Saul, and like, who is this guy? Oh, he's going to meet up with Samuel here in just a minute. Now I see where this is going, right? And so that's kind of what happens when you get into verse 11. It says, they went up to the hill city. They met a young woman coming down to draw water and said to them, is the seer here? And they answered, he is. He's just ahead of you. Hurry. He's come down now just to the city, because the people have a sacrifice today on the high place. As soon as you enter the city, you'll find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat till he comes, since he must bless the sacrifice. Afterward, those who are invited will eat. Now go up. You will meet him immediately. So they went up to the city, and as they were entering the city, they saw Samuel coming out toward them on his way to the high place.
Right. So that's the kind of the circumstances where Saul is meeting Samuel.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is backstory. Verse 15 says, now the day before Saul came,
Yes, right.
the Lord had revealed to Samuel that tomorrow about this time I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him to be prince over my people Israel. He shall save my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have seen my people, because their cry has come to me. So God is like, look, yeah, okay, fine. We're giving him a king. He's going to be a prince of the land. With power. You're going to anoint him. And the cries of the people are real. The Philistines are oppressing them, and we need a man to judge Israel, and just like he's done in the last 400 years or so, to cease the oppression. This time, though, he's going to be a ruler over all the people, which is new, right?
Yeah, and that's it's always interesting when we find these little like glimpses, I guess, into how the land and how things worked before Jerusalem, right? We often think about Jerusalem as the place they go. It's where they do the sacrifice. They have the altar. They have the da 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 da, right? But here at this point, we're seeing there are sacrifices being offered in different places, not just in Jerusalem, right? And but they're doing it according to Samuel's going, and he does the thing. Not every man is just offering his sacrifice. But right, this is before this idea of that God will say, you won't offer in every sacrifice. There'll be a place that I put my name there. But this is before that.
Right.
And so Samuel is out there and, oh yeah, there's a sacrifice in the city today, and this whole thing's going to go down. And so you'll meet Samuel there, and that's why he's in town, right? He's there to do the sacrifice. He's there to offer the thing and have the feast that they're going to have. And yeah, God has used this opportunity, right, to bring these two people together to sort of lay out his plan for them there. And yeah, I do like, early on, all the pictures that you see of what God is doing with Saul are, the only word I can think of is genuine, and that's not exactly what I mean when I refer to God, but he's not setting him up to fail. He's not picked him because he's going to have a downfall and I'm going to use that as a ha ha ha, I told you so. Now let me pick my king, right? We sometimes get the feeling like Saul is who the people picked and David's who God picked, right? No, God picked Saul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sets him up for success. He says, he's going to save my people, right? Their cry has come out to me, and I'm giving them someone who can deliver them from that. Like, he's not, intentionally picking a terrible person to do this, right? But what happens is, as we'll see in other places as well, that, it goes to his head, right? His success goes to his head because he doesn't have the right heart that David does. But yeah, he's, he even has sort of the right mindset, we'll see, in the right heart early on here, but when he gets chosen. But yeah, so Samuel doesn't pick him either. God has chosen him, and he says, he's going to show up. You'll know this is the guy.
Yep.
That's who you're going to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will tell you that the exchange that Samuel and Saul have, it reads a little bit confusing.
Okay.
To me, at least when he talks about, if you just fast forward down to like verse 20.
Yeah.
Right. And then Saul's response seems a little like, why are you talking to me this way? That sort of a thing. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just to get you the context, we're in like verse 15 through
21,
21 or so. Right. And so Saul approached Samuel in the gate and said, "Tell me, where is the house of the seer?" Samuel answered Saul, "I am the seer. Go up before me to the high place, for today you shall eat with me, and in the morning I will let you go and will tell you all that is on your mind." And then he just interjects right there. "As for your donkeys that were lost 3 days ago," like he knows this stuff without being told.
Right. He's
proving,
demonstrating, right?
Demonstrating
I am the seer.
That I am the seer, right? Don't worry about them. They've been found, right? And then he has this really strange sentence or statement or question to Saul. He says, "And for whom is that, and for whom is all that is desirable in Israel?" After talking about the donkeys, right? How do you read that? Explain that to me.
Yeah,
Am I just being
no, it is
silly?
It is a strange thing to say, right? I think what he's actually saying there, and some of them translate it a little bit better, I think, because there's like two questions effectively, right? And I think it's his answer, right? So if you're reading that verse, 20, they have been found, and for whom is all that is desirable in Israel? Is it not for you and for all your father's house, right? And so, the way I sort of read that is, to whom is all of Israel looking for or looking toward? Is it not you and your father's house, right? And so I think
Okay.
what he's kind of saying there is, and I don't know if Saul understands what he's saying. Look,
Right.
what is the desire of Israel? The desire of Israel's for a king, right? And you are it, and your father's house. And I think it's going back to this idea of from above, go up to the high place. You're to eat with me in the morning. I will tell you all that is in your heart, because all of Israel is desiring something, and you're it. Right. And so I'm going to tell you about the things that are to come concerning you and your thing. I think that's how it's intended to be read. But yeah,
Okay.
it's the translations are funny, right?
I read that and then I read it again. I'm
And you're
like,
like, I don't know what he's trying to say. Yeah.
I just get ... right?
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's the best way I can sort of put that
Okay. Well, I
together.
appreciate you shedding some light, at least, mostly understand. So that would make sense, though, if that's what he's kind of insinuating, without Saul having any. It doesn't look like Saul has any understanding that they're supposed to be getting a king.
Yeah. Or if he does, he just doesn't expect it's going to be him.
Sure.
Right. Like,
Right.
and that's because his response there is telling somewhat.
Yeah.
When he says to him back, you'll sort of look at it. Saul answered, am I not a Benjamite from the least of the tribes of Israel? And is not my clan the humblest of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then have you spoken to me in this way? And so
Right.
his statement there seems to be, what, me? Right? It's, maybe it's again, it's sort of hard to suss out there a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Because
are you poking fun at me?
yeah, is it that sort of thing, or is it really from a place of sort of humility, right? Because remember when we had, but it reads the same as well, right? So we saw before. I mean, sure, he's saying, I'm of the tribe of Benjamin. We are a small tribe, right? And I am of my father's house is nothing to be spoken of. But we just were told, at the start of the chapter 3 days ago, his father was a wealthy man, right? And so it reads a little bit like Gideon, if you remember, right? That Gideon's like, oh, I am the least of all the tribes of, Manasseh, and I'm the least in my father's house, and this thing. But then we find out, like, his father has an altar and an idol, and the people of the town all expect that he's upkeeping the idol, the temple. And so you're like, is it that sort of thing again? Like, what is happening here? Or is it actually, at this time, Saul's sort of humility, right? Like, who am I that I would be, and who are we that this would be for us, right? And so maybe I try to read it with some sense of grace and,
through an optimistic lens about Saul and his
thinking
character,
the best
right?
of him. That maybe he is actually sort of thinking this. I mean, look, him saying that I'm of the tribe of Benjamin and that's the least, that's the 100% reads. Because remember, at the end of Judges, they basically massacred all of Benjamin, right?
Yeah, there's not much of Benjamin left, right?
Yeah. And so that seems fair, right? So I'm like, okay, that seems okay. That's accurate. He's not just, saying that I'm of Benjamin, the smallest tribe of Israel. My clan is the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin, right? So maybe he's just talking about his Benjamite status. How would we be the people who are going to lead? We're the people they wanted to eradicate, right? And again, if he doesn't know he's going to be king at this point, he has been honored, right? Everyone knows who Samuel is, right? This is the guy, and he says, "You're going to have the place of honor with me at the feast." And so he's like, "Look, I just came to ask about my donkeys, man. Like, how do I rate such treatment?" Is sort of how I think he's speaking to him there, right? That I'm a nobody, my people are nobody. How should we be honored in this way? Because he hasn't really heard he's going to be king yet.
Yep.
So.
Well, I don't think we need to get into all of the details, but essentially, Samuel sets Saul up. He honors him with the best portions of the food. He puts him in a place of honor. And he continues to just kind of praise and set him up for well, he's going to anoint him
Yeah,
right
that's
at the
right.
beginning of chapter 10, right? And so as we get into the end of 9 and into chapter 10, right there at the end of 9 and 27, it says, as they were going down to the outskirts of the city, this is after the feast,
The
after
next
they've,
morning, yeah.
the next day, the next morning, as they were going down to the outskirts of the city, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the servant to pass on before us, and when he has passed on, stop here yourself for a little while, that I may make known to you the word of the Lord." So basically says, hey, I need a moment of your time privately.
That's right.
Tell everybody to go on ahead,
Right.
essentially. That's how we would say it today, right? Then Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it on his head and kissed him and said, "Has not the Lord anointed you to be prince over his people Israel? And you shall reign over the people of the Lord, and you will save them from the hand of their surrounding enemies. And this shall be the sign that to you that the Lord has anointed you to be prince over his heritage. This is when you depart from me today, you will meet two men by Rachel's tomb in the territory of Benjamin at Zelzah, and they will say to you, the donkeys that you went to seek are found, and now your father has ceased to care about the donkeys and is anxious about you, saying, what shall I do about my son? So basically says, hey, I'm anointing you. I've blessed you with oil. I blessed you with a kiss. And you need to know that God is making you king to rule over Israel, to save his people. And just to double down on the fact that I am who I say I am, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here as you head home.
Yeah, and he
Right.
gives them these signs, right? You're going to
Yeah.
meet these women. They're going to say about the donkeys. Then you'll meet some people. They'll give you some loaves of bread, and they're carrying some goat. I mean, he's very specific, right? They're carrying 3 goats, loaves of bread, and the skin of wine. They're going to give these to you. And so he gives them all these things. So as he's going home, he's like, this is real, right? He's not just
so that
making this
you
up.
may know
Right, yeah.
that the words that I say are true, right?
Yep.
Which is exactly how all the miracles were done in the New Testament.
Yeah.
Right. So that you may know that the words that I speak are true and from the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, great. Well, that's it for this week, everybody. I'm excited to wrap up. We're going to basically get through chapter 12 is our goal, right?
The end of the judge period, right?
The end,
Effectively,
the final
Samuel's
end of the
farewell
judge
address.
period.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to stop. And we're going to pick up on a new challenge, which is what I teased at the very beginning. And the new challenge was inspired by my visit to the Lindale Church Christ in, just outside of Tyler, Texas. And the preacher there, Chris Emerson, runs a great podcast called Excel Still More, or ESM, which a lot of folks are tuned into and subscribed to. And in his sermon that day, which was really cool, he talked about this 52-day challenge, which is reading one chapter a day of the book of Luke and 2nd Luke, which is also called the book of Acts, right? So reading through the book of Luke and the book of Acts, there are 52 total chapters in those two books back to back. And the reason we would want to read them together is because they're both authored by Luke. They're one continual timeline, which is the 60 years of church history from the birth and ministry of Jesus all the way through 60 years worth of total history. And so the book of Acts takes us basically through like the death of Paul-ish.
Yeah, or at least his imprisonment. He'll go out.
At least his
get
imprisonment,
out. Yeah.
And it just kind of ends.
But we have
without,
no more history of the church. Yeah. Letters
right,
after that.
Without too much fanfare.
Yeah.
But it gives us the establishment of the church in Jerusalem, and it gives us the dispersion. And so we have the epistles that are written to those Christians who are of the dispersion, or diaspora, right? Or diaspora. And so it's going to be a really cool thing. So we're going to start that on June 1st. We're going to start that reading. I will record the daily reading, but it's one chapter a day. So it shouldn't be something that is that you need me to read to you. But if you prefer it that way, I will do that. We read Luke and then Acts. And every week during that time, Kevin and I will just do a weekly recap of all the things that we read and the interesting things that we found as we also are doing that with you. So that's it now. So yeah, look forward to that. Put that on your calendar, June 1st, to start the book of Luke, one chapter a day, and then the book of Acts after that. So that's the announcement. God bless everybody. Go out there and shine your light, and I hope you have a wonderful God-filled week. Talk to you later.